Welcome to today's Big Ideas Show. Today I am joined by Dan Francis, who set up We Love Folkestone group, which is a huge group, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. 12,000 members now.
Wow, good stuff. Okay, so we're going to be coming back in a little bit. We're going to have the titles and then we're going to be talking about why you set it up and kind of some of the stuff you've learned about Folkestone and communication as a result. We'll see you after these titles. So Dan, thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you.
So we're here to talk about We Love Folkestone, aren't we? Just very quickly, how long ago did you start that up?
Originally started about 7 years ago.
Wow. So
yeah, it was an early group. However, it's due to Facebook changes and things, it's stopped and restarted again.
Okay.
And it went from a public group to a private group at one point. Then had to restart it as a public group, and the current page has been going probably 3 or 4 years, I think.
Okay. So you've done got a huge amount of interest, response. I follow it. It's always popping up. So it's really exciting to see, because I think you with that group have facilitated a big part of Folkestone's communication and the community and the conversations that are going on. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about what you've learned from that and what you see, really. But before we go into any of that, we're going to do the quick-fire questions quickly.
Right.
Okay, you ready for these?
Okay.
Okay, so first word that comes to mind.
Happy?
Good. Favourite platform for communication?
Facebook?
Gotta be, right?
Right, absolutely.
If you had a billboard, where would you put it and what would it say?
It would be on the top of the Folkestone Downs saying, welcome.
Nice, I like it. Cool. Most important thing for good communication?
Most important thing for good communication? Questions, I suppose. Asking questions.
Cool.
And listening as well.
Nice. Okay. Do you speak another language?
No.
Okay, and if not, what would you like to learn?
It would be German.
Okay.
I
Nice.
work for a German company. It would be good to be able to communicate with them in their language.
Absolutely. Okay. Video or podcast?
Video.
Biggest communication challenge?
Biggest communication challenge. Well, I honestly don't know.
Okay, that's no problem. Okay, favourite word?
I don't know. Because.
Okay, cool. I like it. Most inspiring way you like others to communicate with you?
Positively, I suppose.
Yeah. And how do you like to communicate so that you inspire others or engage others?
Well, I talk a lot, so I don't know. I get told I talk too much sometimes, so I don't know. It's having passion about what you feel, really.
Nice, passionately. That's a good one.
Passionately, that's probably that way.
Good one. Okay, cool. Right, let's get back into We Love Folkestone a little bit more, shall we? So, tell me a little bit about how and why it all started up, because essentially it's a group. It's quite a simple thing, but I think what it's become is much more significant. So what was the inspiration behind it for you?
So when we moved to Folkestone, it was 13 years ago. When we first moved here, there was things happening. The old high street was just starting up, new shops, independent shops. We'd just moved down from Ashford at the time. My wife had a small business there, which didn't work out. And when we came down to Folkestone, we saw small businesses, there was events, there was lots of things happening, but I never knew anything about them. And so that was what it was about. It was about promoting businesses. If you've got a small business, an event, anything really, that's what it was all about.
Yep.
As I said, we moved down here. I got a lot of negativity from people within Kent about Folkestone. I'm not from Kent. I'm originally from Essex, and I couldn't see why.
Yeah.
There was lots of good things happening, and that was what it was about. It was about starting a group for people to add in about anything that they're doing, but all about the positive stuff that's going on. I'm not interested in all the negativity. You can find negativity anywhere.
Yeah.
And so there's some people are blinkered, they can't see the positive things that are going, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely. And that's something that I think is really strong that I've seen, is that post you've got at the top that says this is for positive stuff. I'm sick of people moaning, but I love how people have embraced that and taken it on.
Most.
So talking about the positive stuff, the majority.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of what was your vision, and how do you think, beyond, was it just a case of that initial post and just being really clear, like, we do not tolerate moaning, or was there anything kind of more that you think enabled it to become so popular and so positive?
I don't know, but as I said, I come here, I can see all the positive things. I don't know whether it's, if you've been here a long time, you can't see that stuff. I don't know, but I always try and look at the good things that are happening. And since 7 years ago, there's so much has changed in Folkestone. Most of it I think is good. Other people may think it's bad, but it's for all those people that think you can see all the positive stuff, add to it, and just keep it going in a positive way. Everybody can moan. Everybody can be negative. We can all do that. It's no different in any town. But this is about what's good in this town and promoting it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the group as a whole and everyone who's part of it has really taken that on, haven't they? That emphasis on it's not about moaning, and kind of almost do people police the post and stamp out that negativity?
Yeah,
or do you have to do a lot with that?
I always say to people, look, this is not my job, because I get a lot of emails come through or messages come through of people asking me why I haven't done this or that, or I don't spend all my time policing the group. I let it run itself. And a lot of people have taken up telling other people that that's not the place to post this. As I said, I kind of let it run itself in many ways. If people have an issue with a post, they can just report it, and at that time when I get round to looking at it, I'll have a look and remove if need be. But 90% of the time, or 80 or 90% of the time, it's all good. But you do, and as with media, you will unfortunately get people that cannot just scroll past the post without having to put a negative comment. I always say, look, there's loads of stuff on there that I'm not particularly interested in, but other people are, and that's what it's all about. It's a notice board for different things, for different people, from different backgrounds or whatever it may be, different ages. And I have very little input. What I will say is that if someone does post something and it's something that you're not interested in, then just move past it and find something that you are interested in. And that's what it's all about. And as I said, the problem with social media is sometimes that people can't do that. They sit behind the keyboard and feel that their voice is important.
So what would you say is the balance then between because something that is I think is quite good is that people know that it's a positive place, like in general, unless there's someone that's new that's just kind of jumped on it just because. And having that, because other people are kind of saying, no, it's got to be positive, and they know that it's got to be positive because everyone follows those rules, versus, and kind of but then maybe people jump in and say, you can't talk about that, that's negative, versus just scrolling past. Yes, in one, people know what it's all about, but they also get sucked into a conversation of then arguing about is it positive or negative versus just scrolling past. What do you think's the balance between those two things? When should something be picked up and highlighted and said, no, that's not the place for this, versus just ignore it? Because then if you don't engage, people don't get the... Yeah,
I mean, it's good that people can do that. It's a hard question. People can obviously say that. It depends on what the response is after that, isn't it? Because then sometimes the response could be, well, who are you to tell me what to do? And then it can go on, and that's when it spirals, and that's where you sort of you open it up, and there's just this whole load of arguing going on, and that is the problem with social media. One side of it is it's fantastic, we're trying to promote things. The other side of social media is people feel they can just say whatever they like, no filter whatsoever, sit behind a keyboard and say what they like. So
maybe a balance, kind of being clear what it's all about, but not getting sucked into an argument.
Don't get sucked into an argument. It's
that's very good.
It's very easy to do that because we all have opinions, but
and I think it's something that's universal. That's why I was interested in talking to you in relation to this group, but because it's about communication en masse, but it completely applies to, I think, anything where you've got to communicate.
Anything. I mean, sometimes, language on there shocking sometimes. You know, no, I swear, but I wouldn't do it in a public place, and I wouldn't do it in a public forum. You know, and some people just feel that is completely acceptable. So again, all of those things have to if they get reported, they just get removed. I've had to block a few people over the time. It's very, very few. Yeah. Out of I think we're about 12,000 members now, so it's really maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 people. Out
given
of
the whole lot, that's not a lot, is it? No. Okay, so is there anything surprising or that is particularly interesting to you, or some of the favourite stuff that's emerged? Because as I said, you kind of even though, like you said, it's a public group so anyone can contribute, but as admin you kind of get to see the overview, I guess, a lot of the time. Is there anything that you recognise that does particularly well, that is particularly interesting, not necessarily just interesting for you, but the patterns maybe that you've seen in Folkestone's communication?
Yeah, well, as I said, I set it up originally for for promoting businesses and things. It did become very photography orientated, which is it's a section that was I never intended that, but there's a big photography section on there. It's great. I mean that seems to get a lot of interest. A lot of people love the photos. I've no idea about photography. It's just not something I've done, but I like seeing it. But other people have discussions about stuff. It's great, and I like seeing the images. Again, the recommendations that happens. A lot of people ask for a recommendation of something, and it's a great way of somebody else promoting somebody else's business. And I think a lot of people go to a restaurant, for instance, say they had a fantastic time at this restaurant. I never. This is all things that is a positivity about it, or people are sharing people's experiences in businesses, in shops. Around town, things that are happening, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't intended initially for that, but that's what it's become, and it really is just for me is a notice board about all good things that are happening in the town. And as I said, anybody can find something to moan about. There's loads of things we can all moan about, and it happens in every town. But that's just focused, or this group is just focused on all of these good things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's really nice, isn't it? When people ask questions and ask for requests, ask for referrals, or can anyone recommend, it's really lovely, isn't it? Because then you invite people to contribute, as opposed to, and this is where we go back to the moaning and sometimes other stuff on social media can be very much pushy, like,
my opinion,
rather than asking people for their opinions, which from a communication point of view, I always think is really interesting, because you go in with no preconceptions, do you? Say, I'm looking for this, what do other people think, and inviting that.
There's been recommendations for a car's broken down, recommendations for a garage, and then all these small backstreet mechanics around Folkestone have been recommended by other people. It's great, and I never even know these places existed. So and hopefully that's what it is, it's become, really.
Yeah, lovely kind of organic communication, organic business, word of mouth, the best type, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what Facebook can be good for.
That's exactly that, yeah, exactly.
So is there anything kind of else that you have learned or kind of seen in terms of communication and engagement, those people that get positive engagement, we've mentioned the recommendations, but is there anything else that you have noticed that you think's of interest that other people could potentially apply to stuff they're doing?
Well, I think things, again, I think we discussed this earlier about people with planning applications and all this sort of thing. Yes, there's stuff going on, people have opinions on it, but that's something to take up with the council, for instance, in my opinion. It's not what this group is about. So I tend to remove those. Yeah. I get a lot of people then hassling me or having a go at me for removing those posts, but as I've said, this is not the place for council matters or anything like that. If it's about rubbish or dog's mess or anything else, yes, it happens everywhere. It's not nice. I don't like it here either. But this is not the place to be discussing that. So again, for me, I've suggested to other people that why don't you start a group yourself based on that? Yeah. And then you can use that and set it up to exactly how you want. Planning applications, for instance, there's something going on, people have an opinion on it, set up your own group, manage it yourself, and use that group as that for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And actually, this is a question that maybe kind of goes back at the beginning, but it ties in quite nicely here about kind of getting that initial interest. Because once you get to a critical mass and a certain level, then it's very easy to have more people join. But say someone goes, yeah, actually, I do have a specific niche, and it may be positive or negative moaning or being productive, and they go off and create their own group. Is there anything you did that was special that got those initial kind of early audience on board, or was it just organic?
Well, when I set up that group, I set it up obviously for as we said earlier on, and I invite people that I knew that had businesses or were doing things, or friends really in Folkestone, all the people I knew in Folkestone, and the surrounding areas. I just added all of those people in. And then, to be fair, at the time we were, I do events myself, at a couple of places in Folkestone, and so it was really, I was using it myself to advertise my own events, and then other people to advertise their events, and that's kind of how it started.
Okay.
And it just literally started from that. Again, if there was a new business opening up, I would take a link from them and add it onto there myself, and then from there, people have just started obviously adding their own bits and pieces, which is what it's about. Yeah. As I said, for me, it's a notice board for everything that's going on in Folkestone.
Okay, so I guess it was being very active at that early stage to get the momentum started. So.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to go quite grow quite as much as it has, but maybe that's because I tried to stick with the ethos of what it was originally set up for. Yeah,
and personally, from looking at it from kind of an outside point of view, that's something that's is very clear, and it's interesting how it's just that post at the top, that pinned post that you put about what the ethos is, but it's stuck, and it's what for me is maybe that's the one I go to versus another one maybe that might be a bit more.
Yeah, I've got I'm members of group on Facebook, and sometimes it just gets into this whole arguing and everything else, and eventually you just don't really want to. I'll just leave the group or something. Whereas if we stick with that, it's amazing that actually just looking at good things, it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, definitely positive momentum that builds.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Awesome, Dan. It's been awesome chatting to you.
Thank you.
Normally, I say to people, do you want to tell people the link for where to go and find? But we've been talking about where to go and find it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is it just groups and then We Love Folkestone and people will find it?
Exactly. Yeah, if you just go to Facebook and put in We Love Folkestone,
it's the top one, right?
Well, I think it is. Yeah. Let's go. So yeah, and have a look at what's going on, and obviously add anything that's that you're doing, and feel free to, if you've got a business or you're doing something, or there's anything you're doing that's an event or of interest to people in Folkestone, add it to the group.
Absolutely. Dan, great stuff. Thank you very much. Cheers.